Hey guys, it's Pineapple, and today I want to talk to you about Himiko Toga. We're going to talk about the end of Toga's story in My Hero Academia since the series is ending. This is part of our continuing series, of course, in videos talking about where I think character arcs for certain characters are going to end since we are nearing the end of the series. So we're going to talk about Toga today. And while this video does focus on Toga, I feel like I'm going to have to talk about Ochako quite a bit in this video, right? Since her plotline obviously clearly ties into where I think Ochako's plotline is going. Since her plotline obviously ties into where I think Toga's plotline is going. So we're going to talk about Ochako, we're going to talk about Toga, what I like about both characters, and of course, where I think Toga's story is ending. But my question for you guys, right away, let's just start a question off. You can answer me in the comment section below. Do you think Toga is going to be saved? We're going to cover that in this video, but I want to know what your opinion is, right? Do you think Toga is going to be saved by the end of My Hero Academia? Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, please, if you like what I do, feel free to subscribe. We're welcoming all brand new viewers to the channel, so obviously subscribe if you like what I do. Watch some of my other videos, see if you like the vibe here, and if so, I'm going to see you guys have, pretty much daily uploads. I feel like I've been doing almost daily uploads all this month, giving myself like a day off every week to kind of, keep from burnout. But hopefully we can keep it consistent, and it'll definitely help if you guys like the video and subscribe. So with that all said, let's start talking about Himiko Toga and the end of her story in My Hero Academia. So, to talk about the end, as always, we have to go a little back to talk about what the character is up to lately, right? So, Toga is in an interesting place. Because of Toga, we know that at the end of the war arc that recently just passed, she had one major question on her mind. Where do you draw the line, right? Like, really her question is kind of like, what is a villain to you, Ochako or Deku, right? Like, what is a villain really? And is there a kind of person as a hero that you won't save, right? Because then that kind of gets into the question, which is I feel like one of My Hero Academia's most important questions. What is a hero? Right? Like, if there's people that you won't save, then why are you calling yourself a hero? A hero should save everybody, right? And that's kind of the mindset that we've seen with Deku and Ochako lately, right? Ochako is kind of really coming to her senses after giving that speech about Deku to the masses to let Deku back into UA. But being able to save everyone is a mindset that we don't see shared by many heroes in My Hero Academia, right? Like, there's always a situation where they're willing to give up, or a situation where, like, a lot of times they're not really committed to saving everyone, right? Like, not even the villains, right? Like, there's this hard line between what a villain is and what a hero is in My Hero Academia. And I feel like one of the biggest and most important questions that we can answer from the series is, what is a hero and what is a villain? Like I said previously in the video. So, with that said, I feel like Ochako and Toga really are two of the best characters that get to the heart of that question, right? Because of Ochako, you have this character who very much like started off with kind of surface level aspirations, right? A lot of people, that's where they stop reading Ochako for some reason, and it's really frustrating. But her original surface level aspirations were, hey, I want to make my parents rich. You know what I mean? I want to make money, buy my mama a house, buy my dad a house, let's get it poppin', the Uraraka family. But from there, Ochako really starts to kind of develop into a character who remembers the feeling of heroes making people around her happy, right? And she figures that what her responsibility is to make sure that those people are able to continue doing that by supporting heroes, right? So a lot of Ochako's character throughout the series, a lot of her journey has been, how can I help heroes? How can I save heroes, right? Like, it's a very Who Watches the Watchmen kind of thing, even though that has negative connotations. It's very much like, we take care of saving all these people. We, as heroes, put so much on our shoulders, but who's there to take care of us? You know what I mean? Like, society depends on us, but they don't really take care of us in the way that I feel like moving forward in My Hero Academia they will. So like, I have to be a hero that other heroes can depend on. That's kind of Ochako's vibe. There's a very, very big hypocrisy in that, right? Because Ochako feels like heroes are the people who need help the most for most of the series. But then you have someone like Toga, right? Toga has a situation where, because of something biological that she has like very, very limited control over, I would say, she is forced to look at the world from this kind of side point of view, right? And she's never been allowed to kind of see that through, or like really guided by anybody to kind of like steer that in the proper direction. Everyone in her life has always just completely denied her, right? And I feel like in Toga's situation, it would have been better to kind of steer that in another direction and try to find a way for her to fit in, right? But like, no one ever really tried to do that with her. So what is she gonna do if she's gonna rebel? Obviously, she's gonna go all in to that personality, or all in and just do what instinctually she wants to do, as if to say, like, screw you for trying to stop me from being who I am. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't lead me the right way, so now I'm going to take my own way, and I'm going to drink blood and do all the kind of crazy stuff that Toga does. I find it very sad that Toga, in a very, very clear way, just wants to live like a normal life to a certain extent, but she's not able to because of something that she has no control over, right? Like a biological thing that she has no control over, because she didn't choose to be born with this quirk, you know? So I always find that interesting when like a person is born with a quirk that like gives them a nature or gives them something that makes it so they aren't able to then interact with society, because those are very, very tragic cases to me. And I feel like when you have someone like Toga who's expressed repeatedly to Ochako that, hey, look, I want to be normal. This is my version of normal. You know what I mean? Like, I am just trying to be like you. I'm just trying to live my life like you do. We're just a little different. When you have someone like that being hunted down by heroes who are the people that Ochako thinks need the most help, you start to see that, no, everyone here needs help. You know what I mean? Like, yes, heroes need help, but like, I can't give that much support to people who are hunting down other people who need help. You know what I mean? So that's not to say that Ochako is going to go against the heroes or anything like that, but I feel like that's her recognizing, yeah, I think these people need more help. But in actuality, if Toga were to get help, these two people would never have to interact. Heroes and villains, we need to let go of that label and just save everybody you possibly can, right? That is where I think the series of My Hero Academia is going in a very big way. Starting with Deku, obviously, he reinforced that throughout the whole class. All the class kind of believes that in various ways, and now they're coming together to reinforce that for society, right? With Ochako pretty much giving that speech to the civilians that makes it so everyone is working together. We know that that's all good and dandy, you know what I mean? That's all kind of backdrop for what we're going to say now, right? We know the way that Ochako and Toga's last conversation left off, we know that Toga has pretty much completely given up on the idea of being saved, right? Or anything like that, or kind of like being able to fit in. So that now in this arc where she's kind of like showing her hand, it makes sense, right? It makes sense that she's aggravated at Ochako, that she's saying, I've given up on you and Deku, both of you, you know, I'm gonna live my life the way that I want to now. I don't have to feel like maybe there's hope for me. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I know that no one on this earth can understand me. So now I'm done with all of you. I'm done with trying to make any of you understand me. I'm just going to live the way I want. I'm going to take blood. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. No one is going to deny me any longer, which is kind of the same situation that Shigaraki is in to a certain extent, right? Like, Toga does a very, very, very good job of mirroring Shigaraki in that way, where Shigaraki, his entire life was denied, right? Then, as a result of being denied, he ended up taking the one thing that he could get, right? Like, Shigaraki's whole life was told that he couldn't be a hero, or not told, but you know what I mean? He was denied. Well, I guess, yeah, told, but he was also denied that right of being a hero. So as a result, what does he become? He becomes the villain. He becomes the world's worst villain, right? Because that's the option that is open to him. That's the only path forward to him that he can logically take. So as if to say, screw you guys for denying what I originally wanted to be. Now I'm going to become the thing that you would least want me to be. That's kind of what Toga is doing here. And I really, really like how both Deku and Ochako's villains, right, the kind of their main villains, are both very, very similar in that way. And we also have the kind of weird thing with like Shigaraki and Toga both being like very feline-like, right? Like feline-like speed. There's a lot of like references to both of them being very feline. So I don't know. Maybe that's just like another level of the parallels and similarities between Shigaraki and Himiko. But to continue talking about Toga's story and where I think it's going to go, right now we see she's fighting with Ochako. She's having that battle with Ochako and Tsuyu, and we haven't cut back to that in a little bit, and I think we will sooner or later, but how do you guys think that's going to go, right? Like, I do think Toga is going to end up being brought in, right? But it's going to be hard. It's going to be very difficult, because all of the trouble that they're having right now with the various different Nomu and stuff like that, the show has not started on that battlefield. Like, the show has not even started. The most dangerous thing on the battlefield has not been activated yet. Because sure, you have all these high-end Nomu that are fighting Plus Ultra Whale Man, what's his name? Gang Orca. You have all these people that are fighting Gang Orca. You have all these different heroes fighting each other at this zoo location on the water. You're probably going to have this really, really cool fight between Ochako, Tsuyu, and Toga. Sure, but what happens when Toga eats twice his blood? Right, we've seen that she's carrying it. We've seen that she has it with her. What happens when that happens, right? Like, there is potential for something very tragic to happen. Because I feel like, on one hand, I do think, to get back to the point of, like, what is the end of Toga's story, I do think, on one hand, that Toga is savable. I've been saying it for a long time. I'm going to stay consistent. I do think Ochako can save Toga, right? To a certain extent. I guess Ochako and Tsuyu. They can save Toga. They can get Toga to see reason, and Ochako can get it across, hey, whoa, look, up until our last meeting, the very last moment of that meeting, when I saw you running away and everything, I don't think I've understood what you've been trying to tell me up until this point, right? Like, it hasn't been clicking to me because I've only been seeing you as a villain. But in that moment, when you were running away and you made that face, I realized this person is a victim. You know what I mean? Like, I removed the label of villain from my head for you, and I removed it and I realized that you truly need help. And I, as a hero, should be offering you that help instead of fighting you every time and not actually hearing what you're saying. But now I've heard what you're saying. And like the association between Deku and Toga in Ochako's mind is a very, very real and interesting thing, because Ochako obviously thinks of Deku as, like, you know, a very, very reckless person who is going to do what he's going to do, you know what I mean? And she really just has to support him through that because he is the way that he is. He's very set in his ways, and she has to support that to a certain extent, right? And be there to save him when that time comes. And it comes a lot. Ochako saved Deku, I think, more times than Deku has saved Ochako. But that is kind of like part and parcel to their relationship, right? Or their friendship throughout the series of My Hero Academia. With Toga, I feel like Ochako realizes that she's very much the same, and she needs the same level of support and help, if not way more, because Toga, like, internally has a lot more going on than Deku. I mean, even though Deku has 9 different personalities and whatnot inside of his body, Toga has a very, very tough and conflicting nature, right? So I do think that Ochako is going to be able to save Toga. I think the only if there is whether or not it's going to happen before Toga ingests twice blood, right? Because I feel like if Toga takes twice his blood, it becomes a lot less likely that Toga is going to be saved. I feel like at that point she ascends to a level of danger that I don't think she's going to survive. Right now, I think Toga can be saved because even though she's saying she's given up on the idea of being saved or the idea of heroes, I don't think she's completely closed out to that quite yet. I do think Ochako can get through to her. If she eats twice his blood and then uses Sad Woman's Parade, let's say, right? And there's all these clones of whoever, Makias, high-ends, like what, herself, the different league members, whoever she managed to get measurements of beforehand, because let's assume Toga's smart and she did some, you know, preparation. If she's able to use twice his quirk, like, I think you might have to put Toga down. And who knows if that would even do anything to the clones, right? But like, to keep her from creating more, you might have to put Toga down. Now, the only situation that I think she could survive activating Sad Woman's Parade is, honestly, if it just runs out, right? If she only has enough of twice his blood to use it for a little while, she uses it, is effective against the heroes, maybe, you know, Ochako survives somehow that onslaught of various different clones and stuff like that, and then finds the actual Toga somehow, sifting through the many, many different clones of whoever the hell, finding the true Toga, like, you know, the red needle of fate and a needle in a haystack and everything, and then getting to her that way. And again, I like how, just like how with Shigaraki and Deku, Toga and Ochako's kind of situation in the series really, really reflects on the question again of what is a hero and what is a villain. And like with Shigaraki and Deku in the war, that's where we really saw them, to a certain extent, narratively at their worst, right? Because both of them were stuck in their ways, like in their archetype. One is a hero and one is a villain, and both of them were kind of in this archetype in their own heads, like, you know what, I am the hero, you know what, I am the villain, and because of that, the other person can't hear anything they have to say, I have nothing to learn from them, I'm just gonna wipe this person out, end their dream, and get rid of them, right? That's why we had that line from Deku in the war arc, where he's like, my dream exists to pretty much stop your dream, Shigaraki, right? And Shigaraki's telling Deku that, like, you know, get out of the way of my dream or something like that, right? We had that dialogue. And what I find interesting about that dialogue is Shigaraki's dream was not initially to be a villain, right? We know his dream was to be a hero. And Deku, his power is not to take Shigaraki's dream away. That is not the reason that he got One for All. The reason that he got One for All is to save people. Initially, All Might didn't even know that All for One was still going to be a problem, right? But like when Deku got the quirk, the reason that he got it was to save people, and that is something that he's kind of lost sight of in the war arc, and he's kind of gotten back to that as the series has gone on since then. But it very, very, very much mirrors the situation with Ochako and Toga, because just like Shigaraki and Deku, who weren't listening to each other and weren't really getting it, but they thought like, hey, I'm this archetypal character, I'm this villain, you're this hero, we have to fight, we have to butt heads, and then at the very, very end of their interaction, Deku started to understand, wait, you're a victim. We have the same thing going on of Toga, right? Where and Ochako, where they had that situation, they had their kind of their fight, they went separate ways, they weren't listening to each other or anything, and then at the very end, one of the two, Ochako obviously, realizes, wait, you're a victim. And so I think, like my opinion of Shigaraki, that we'll talk about soon, we'll do an end of the story for Shigaraki video soon, I guess. Like my opinion for Shigaraki, I do think to a certain extent Toga is going to be saved. I do think Tenko is going to be saved, but it's going to be like a little dicey because saved for how long, right? It's not really saved if you die immediately after. But with Toga, I do think there is a potential future where her and Ochako can be friends. I do think it's possible. It's going to be weird. It's going to be a hard path, but sometimes life is hard. Sometimes you're born and you're dealt a bad hand, and life is just going to be a little harder for you. But that doesn't mean that it's okay to do bad stuff and do crazy stuff, and it doesn't mean it's okay to just give up on it. So hopefully Toga has to do neither of those things. Hopefully she gets the help that she needs and gets saved, because I do think it would be very, very tragic if she was to lose her life at the end of the series, right? So that is what I think the end of Toga's story is going to be in My Hero Academia. That's why I think that Ochako and Toga are two of My Hero Academia's most underappreciated characters. That's why I think they're two of the most effective characters in answering that question of what is a hero and what is a villain. And yeah, that's where I think Ochako and Toga's stories are going to end in My Hero Academia. I think we can go a little further talking about Ochako, but since their stories are so intrinsically linked, I figured that's where I leave this off. So this is Pineapple. Please answer my question previously in the video about how you think Toga's story is going to end yourself. And of course, let me know in the comment section below who you'd like to see me talk about next. This is Pineapple. I'll see you guys later. Peace.